Hola, 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 world. What's up? It is me, Sheba Saturn. Thank you so much for the love. I know it's been a couple months since I've been back on here filming my numerology, astrology, and tarot videos, so I really appreciate all of the comments and the views. Y'all know some of my views have more than 1,000 clicks. Guys, thank you. Thank ya. I really appreciate it. And I love to share and I love to learn. I'm a huge nerd and I'm super proud of it. Nerds of the world unite. Highly analytical, and that's why I love numerology because the numbers don't lie. Of course, things vary in the way that you interpret them, but it's always just the study in the field of numerology and the esoteric sciences is something that's kept my interest for over 10 years now. It's quite fascinating, and I love to share what I know with other people. So, again, thank you so much for your patience regarding putting up these new videos because I've had a couple viewers email me say, hey, I found your numerology videos. I like your style. I like what you have to say. Where are the other videos? And I'm like, oh gosh, work and other commitments take place. But I really do. I'm very passionate about the subject of critical thinking and creative thinking. And as you all know, or you may not know, but now you know because you're listening to me, is I attribute a great deal of my process of development of numerology, astrology, and the tarot helped me develop complexity and gradation in my thinking. Prior to this, to taking this study and this practice, I was a very sort of extremely black and white about how I felt. And as I grew to understand the complexity and the layers of the human mind and of the human psyche, and in decision making, it really just permeated and transpired into the way that I saw the world overall. I allowed for more complexity and subtlety and intricacy in the way that I perceived people's motivations and the way that I understood my own self. And I attribute that directly to studying numerology, astrology, and the tarot. I always say, in tandem with these esoteric sciences, you want to be increasing your knowledge, studying the universal laws of the Kabbalion, the principle of rhythm, the principle of polarity, so on and so forth, because those directly tie to astrology. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. Today I'm going to do I'm going to offer you a little información sobre el número 9. I'm going to talk a little bit about the number 9 and what that means as it relates to Pythagorean numerology. And I integrate my knowledge of astrology. I know that some numerologists are super diehard with their schools of thought and do not use the astrological wheel as a way to interpret the numbers in numerology, but I do. And so that's just a little caveat there that I integrate the knowledge that I have from astrology and the tarot when I'm offering you these numerological readings. And I would hope that I could spark your interest in discovering how beautiful the tarot is. The tarot really helped me harness my intuition, and numerology help me be able to access a person's general understanding of a person's proclivities and tendencies without having to have the exact time of birth. Because as you know, in astrology, there are different calculations that you can do that sort of rectify not having the time of birth. Numerology really opens up your world, and it's just a different entry point, right? As I've said before, the scientist and the artist are actually one and the same in their quest for truth, and their quest and their passion. You get a bunch of scientists and artists in a room, and one thing that I will tell you is they will have strong opinions, and they are passionate people. So the scientist and the artist, the archetype of those two, two states of being or two states of mind are seeking truth. Both are seeking truth. So we're not too far away from one another as scientists and as artists. We're always seeking integration of new information and seeking liberation, seeking freedom, seeking peace. But anyway, okay, so let's get back to the number 9. I always like to remember the foundational numbers 1 through 9 in Pythagorean numerology as a story, and I like to remember it that way because it will really help. It's a great, as they say, mnemonic device as you use storytelling as a way to help you understand the different progressions and stages. And it's very important not to understand not to memorize the significance of the numbers in isolation, because they take on greater meaning when you view it from a holistic perspective. So I'm going to review really quickly the numbers 1 through 9. And if you've watched my videos, thank you for your patience, because I know you see me do this like a lot of times already, and I get it. But just for the sake of consistency and giving the newer audience a comprehensive approach, I would like to review them with me. And if you know them super well already, then you can just like, hello, follow along. You'd be like, yeah, Shebah, we know already. Okay, just humor me. Okay, so the number 1, these are very intuitive. We're going to understand them in a story. The numbers 1 through 9 represent the different stages of human evolution, the different stages of the human maturation, the different stages of human development and self-development, and they also represent the different stages of manifestation. So the numbers 1 through 9. Here we go. Intuitively, the number 1 represents leadership. It is the lone reed. It is the spark. It is that fiery, divine energy that goes out into the universe to find and to begin and to incendiary. You know, in Spanish we say like, if you're looking for a lighter, it's called encendedor. So it's like you turn on the encendedor and it just sparks, and that's the number 1. So think of 1 and think of leadership. After we move from the 1, the individuality, the solitary creativity and the originality and the gusto and the gumption that you have to have in order to spark things forward and be the initiator, then you go into the lesson of the 2. And the 2 is all about partnership and harmony and duality and accepting and grounding polarities and duality. And that's a very distinct energy that moves from the initiation, the initiator, the creativity, the boldness and the bravery and the originality that the 1 has to have to send off that spark and be the springboard. And then you have the 2, and the 2 energy seeks to harmonize and balance that energy out a little bit. And then you go into the distinctly different energy of the 3, which represents past, present, and future, parent, and child, the creative process, and a community. So 3 is I communicate. So now you're looking on going to short trips and learning a lot of things, more broad learning versus in-depth learning. Okay. From there you go to the 4, and the 4 is all about structure and order. So let's say if you're thinking about initiating a creative project, number 1, you have to have the leadership skill and the sheer courage and the bravery in order to even speak that out of your throat chakra, right? And say, this is what I'm going to do. And then eventually you have to bring other people into the partnership. Maybe it's just talking it over with a friend, or maybe it's, grounding the male and the female energy within yourself, within that 2, within that polarity, right? And then the 3 comes with the communication. So now you have to start communicating about your idea and your concept and your business and what it is that you want to do. And then after that, you need the structure, was 4. So 4 is all about policies, organization, procedures, and structure. 4 is the archetype of the builder. So all of the procedures, the processes, the systems of organization that are necessary in order to manifest. And that makes sense intuitively because 4 is a square. Right? After that, you prong out into the 5. And the 5 is like, you could say, se mira como una estrella, right? Star. So you have the different points, and the 5 is a really fun energy. It's very similar to, so odd and even numbers have similar energies. So they're all sort of in some way octaves of one another. Right? So the 5 is all about creativity, similar to the 1 in its originality, but the 5 is actually about more recreation and drama and theater arts and fun, and they like to wear bold colors. I'm actually a 5 outer personality, and they're conversationalists. Okay, so if you're thinking about this in terms of a project, you want to say, okay, I've been the initiator. Okay, I talked it over with a friend. I'm harmonizing, with the partnership in the 2. Now I'm communicating. I'm communicating with the world about my business idea, what I want to do. Now I have processes, procedures, and structure. Now I have 5. I get to be, as they say, save the glamour for on the stage and not off of it, right? With the drama. So the 5 is a place where you can appropriately dramatize whatever it is that your business idea is, and share it in a setting that is entertaining, right? 5 is all about being the como se dice, the conversationalist, the witty conversationalist, one who is able to actually guide themselves from within and be a sage. But that's actually, go to my number 5 video so that you can check that out, because I want to go in depth about everything, but I gotta hurry up. Okay, so the number 6. What are we at? We're at 10 minutes already. Dang, guys. I really need to get better about this. I always tell myself, oh, I'm going to do it in 15 minutes. Y luego no se pasa. Because I talk. Okay, number 6, service, implementation, evaluation. 6 seeks to be of service. 6 seeks to ensure that the creative energy represented in the number 5 is useful. So 6 will assess and will fine-tune and will be nitpicky. Okay, that's the stage of the process of manifestation is, okay, you put it out there into the entertainment world, you give it to the audience, and then you come back and you say, okay, how could we have refined this concept to make sure that it had a little bit more integrity, that it wasn't too abstract, that this nebulous, spiritual, artistic, ideal that is important to the fabric of humanity was communicated clearly, and the audience didn't just go off saying like, what was this person talking about? There was trees, it was the ocean, I didn't get it. Was it a metaphor for my life? Am I being reborn? Am I dying? Art can sometimes be that way. So 6 is very important, because this is when you realistically assess, okay, was I efficient? Was I effective? Was my idea communicated clearly? Then you get to the 7, which is the Libra scale. 7 is also heavily influenced by art, and it's just a more deeper process of analysis than the 6. It has the scales. So it's always seeking to, 7 can sometimes be a process of overthinking, and then also grounding spirituality, bringing the spiritual energy. And I almost wanted to say volatility, because 7 is a very volatile number, but 7 has a very direct and mystical connection with God. So now we're realigning with our purpose. It goes beyond the 6, which is all about service and implementation, to taking it to a higher plane. It's still an analytical process, because 7 is more of an air energy, so it's still analytical, but now it's saying, okay, what is the true message of what it is that I'm communicating, and with a spiritual undertone. Okay, or a mystical undertone, not necessarily religious, but a deeper life undertone. And then the 8 is the number of manifestation. So it's the number of power. You seek the power, you want the power. And it's the number of authority, money, and abundance. So at this point with your idea, you've been a leader, in that you talked about your idea. You talked about the idea maybe to a friend, which is the 2 energy. Then the 3 is you communicated it to the world. The 4 that you have processes in order. The 5 is that you had some fun. You got to be creative. The 6 is you got to assess your fun. The 7 is that you got to assess it and refine it even more, and think to yourself, what is the larger message that I'm seeking to communicate, and am I accomplishing that? And then the 8 says, hey, let's take this worldwide, baby. Let's go worldwide, because the 8 is the executive. It's not satisfying for the 8 to just put forward and manifest a creative piece that is meaningful to their hearts. They want to be known. They want to be seen and respected as the authority figure. I'm talking about myself here. It's true. As much as I love numerology, astrology, and the tarot, I would love everybody in the world to watch my videos, because I just have that energy. I just want to blow it up. Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever I do, it's like, let's take it to the top. Let's see how we can monetize this. Let's see how we can get it to a wider global audience. Okay, and then the 9. The 9 is finally what you came here to do. I'm going to put in the comments that I really don't start breaking it down until about 14 minutes or so. But again, it makes no sense to learn about the numbers in isolation. And I say that, but I also realized when I first started studying, I was super selfish, and I would like, okay, what applies to me? And then I would just focus on what applies to me. But the number 9 is such a pleasurable, fun, highly responsible energy to carry. The 9 is actually represents, now this is strong to say, but almost like the idealized human. So the 9 represents the moral purity, high-mindedness, education, universalization, seeing the universal human experience in every personal interaction. It's a very beautiful, transcendent number. It's a spiritual number, but actual spirituality leading more towards studies and diversity and education, almost like a merging of education and spirituality. It's very high-minded thinking. I pull from my knowledge of astrology. I know some numerologists don't do that, or they say that the knowledge in astrology doesn't necessarily always go in direct alignment. But just know that intuitively I do that, and you can decide for yourself whether or not it vibes with you. But ultimately, you do have to decide for yourself, right? So I'm just gonna speak freely and give you the knowledge that the kinetic reactions that are coming through me right now that I'm channeling. So for the 9, think of fire because it rules the 9th house of Sagittarius. And Sagittarians, if you know them, they're very, very high-minded people. They have a strong ethical principles from which they use to analyze their life. They can be both really fun and liberal-minded, but also very democratic, almost hyper democratic, and nearly conservative in the way that they apply and respect the democratic process. So they're very hard drivers toward their goals. They also do struggle with perfectionism, and every number does to a certain extent, just because we tap into the human need for acceptance and what's fundamental about the human journey is always wanting to improve and seeking like societal approbation. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't let people tell you that, oh, you're insecure if you want love from your community. Well, it's a natural. As humans, we're social beings, and I know that there's some variation in terms of the extroverts and the introverts, but at the same time, it is very natural and okay to want to give love and to receive love in return. That's okay. And the 9 is the one that universalizes the human experience. They're very kind, they're very loving, they're very giving, and they're the natural humanitarians of the zodiac. But they're the natural humanitarians in these series of 1 through 9. In the tarot card, they represent, actually the tarot cards that I use is the Rider. I have to concentrate when I say this. Rider Waite is the Rider Waite. It's a little bit of a tongue twister for me. Deck, and I know in the Rider Waite deck, they substitute the number 8, 9, and 11 in a non-traditional way. But in the Rider Waite deck that I use, the number 9 is the Hermit, and he's the Hermit carrying the light of fire and the light of hope for humanity. So it's the unlikely leader, the leader who actually does not rule with ego, the leader who rules because they have a very high reverence for and hope and faith in our humanity and our ability to unite and work together. You will often find these people as artists, as musicians, or in some sort of a public service on a higher plane, being responsible for a great deal of things. I think of my mother when it comes to this, because my mother's a Sagittarian and she also has a 9 in her birth chart and in her the day that she was born. And she was held a high managerial position in a high needs community. I'm from East Los Angeles, California, so I grew up in East LA. God, we need to do so much better about defying stereotypes. Yes, I am from East Los Angeles, California. Yes, I love where I came from. And yes, my mama was a teacher in East LA, and she has that 9 energy. So a lot of this I'm describing a lot of the Sagittarians that I know in terms of their commitment to ethical principles and their reverence for doing the right thing, and their stubborn, relentless commitment to getting it right. I mean, these are super, super hard workers. If we're talking about even human design, these are the manifesting generators and the projectors, the people that have a very strong, they venerate the potential that we have as human beings. I mean, they put it up on a pedestal and they're always reaching and encouraging other people to go for it. They want to do the right thing. They are extremely kind. I wouldn't necessarily say nurturing, but they're very kind in that they do their best to treat everybody in a manner that is equitable. I won't necessarily say equal, because when you treat everybody equally, sometimes that doesn't really work out too well because people start at different places. And that's why I say I use the word very consciously. They're very concerned with, offering others a platform for equitable access. So viewing each person and each family and each situation, they often work in public service, in the public service. So you're going to see like an archetype would be the social worker, right? Viewing each person, each family, and each situation that they're helping based on the full context, and then integrating and generating a plan to help them heal. They are the healers, and they're very grounded humanitarians. I want to show you this card. Very observant, working in the positive. I mentioned a lot of positives. I will mention some that, really it's 2017. We need to abandon, if we're not talking about, evaluating systems and logic and efficiency and logistics, and we really need to abandon this dichotomy, this dichotomous way of thinking of good or bad, or, it really, really all depends on the situation, because I almost caught myself and I was going to say when working in the negative, but it's all just about a polarity and a vibration. Some vibrations are absolutely necessary, although they may not be, traditionally thought of as positive. So I will say that nines tend to be okay working for the larger bureaucratic institutions that have a far reach. So like an NGO or a large nonprofit or a large, school district or county, working for the county on a humanitarian level. Or they're also very culturally receptive when it comes to interacting with people of different walks of life. They love to observe humanity in all its iterations, humanity in all the creative and curious ways that we manifest ourselves, and the customs and the traditions that we share. They truly embrace that. It makes them happy. They're very, very passionate people, and they're also people who struggle with self-criticism. And they struggle with self-criticism because they're able to perceive number one, they have really high standards. And when you have high standards, you're not always going to be able to make the mark. I say this about the 6 as well. The 3, the 6, and the 9 are all octaves of each other. So the 3 is the sacred shape. The 6 is the service-oriented perfectionist who really struggles with their self-esteem. In fact, their self-esteem is intimately tied to being able to please others. And it's a part of who they are, but they need to really manage that and set appropriate boundaries. And then the 9 is a higher octave of the 3 and the 6, right? So the 9 is really, really has excellent judgment, excellent skills of observation, and excellent skills of discernment. And because they're able to discern in systems what works and what doesn't, so they're taking their skill of discernment, and then they take their really high moral fabric and ethical precepts that they set, and they merge them together, and they can be super powerful when it comes to working for the greater good of humanity. I call them the grounded humanitarians. At the same time, what often happens is they'll experience this discernment, and they'll let it implode within. I've talked about this with the 6 as well. And so they really do struggle with very, very harsh criticism because they have high standards. And to have high standards, it means that you somewhat have to have a regard for what is considered the norm, right? You respect standards. And so they always want to go above the standard. And this can really impact their level of self-confidence when they feel like there's a particular societal standard that they're not living up to. A big part of their life path has to do with integrating and graciously carrying a high degree of responsibility on their backs. Highly responsible, extremely diligent, hardworking people. I want to show you the Hermit. Again, I use the Rider-Waite deck. Yeah, as you see. I want to show you the Hermit. I know you all can just like pull it up on Google, but this is the 9. Look how humble it is. Oh, y'all can't see that, huh? Oh, can you see it better farther away? My light is too much. I have to calm down with this light. Okay, there you go. You see how beautiful that is? You have the Hermit with the cloak of knowledge and education, and their staff, which is actually a wand, and then the light, and it's called the Hermit. And so the 9 is a perfect, there you go, The 9, I'm sorry, this is kind of silly. Y'all Google the Hermit because this light here is just not working for me. But the Hermit is a really beautiful illustration and depiction of the psychology of the 9 person. Extremely kind, extremely humble, very compassionate, but they have to learn to also be kind with themselves. Their energy can get depleted easily, similar to human design with the manifesting generators and their chakra. If I think about the 9, I think about the sacral chakra, similar to the generators and the manifesting generators, doing the good work and having a lot of creativity and strong, persistent, consistent, pervasive, energetic body. And that energetic body that is fueling them is their moral fabric. I mean, these 9 people, they have the most complex moral and ethical precepts. And I'm not saying that they're perfect people, but I'm going to tell you that they have a rationale behind everything that they do. One thing that I also want to encourage you to do is to look into, if you're interested in astrology and numerology, I would also really, really, really look into developing your intuition more and more through the tarot. It's an amazing, amazing esoteric science. And what do I really say? Let me be more descriptive than say amazing. It really has allowed me to harness and trust my intuition in a very grounded, it's been a stabilizing force for me, the tarot. I have a really strong relationship with it, and it took me several years. There are some people who are more dogmatic and traditional in their interpretation. Other people who are more intuitive, but I definitely encourage you to have a look and look into it and try it out. The tarot is a reflection. Is a pictorial, right? It's a pictorial reflection of the human experience from birth until death, or the human experience from initiated to uninitiated. And as you grow, you'll be able to recall there's the trumps major and the trumps minor. And as you grow, you'll be able to recall them. And that actually really helps as a gateway into numerology, right? So really quickly, I'll just go through them, and eventually you'll be able to do this yourself, okay? So depending on who you ask for the tarot, there's either 0 through 22 or 1 through 21, okay? So I'm actually going to start off with the magician. I'm going to walk you up from the magician. If you think about remember, these cards that I'm going to talk to you about are the trumps major, and they represent the different dynamics and spiritual lessons of the human experience from uninitiated to initiated, or from birth until death, the different stages of manifestation, okay? So the number 1, you have the magician. Okay, from the magician, you go to the high priestess. From the high priestess, you go to the empress. From the empress, you go to the emperor. From the emperor, you go to the hierophant, or the priest. From the hierophant, or the priest, you go to the lovers. From the lovers, you go to the chariot. From the chariot, you go to strength. This is the Rider-Waite deck. In other decks, it's different. From strength, you go to the number 9, which is the beautiful and wonderful hermit. It's so amazing when you learn these things because you're able to spot out the archetypes and the beauty in other people, and use it to empower them and understand them and be more compassionate. And the 10 in the Rider-Waite deck is the Wheel of Fortune. Please always remember to spin the Wheel of Fortune in your favor, whether or not you deserve it. Spin the Wheel of Fortune in your favor, whether or not you deserve it. I'm not telling you to be unethical, but this is your life, and you do deserve to be happy. So on some days you may not feel like you do, but just hear me. The Wheel of Fortune, make sure to spin it in your favor, because fate and destiny are not biased. They will work for you if you put enough energy into them. The Wheel of Fortune will work for you if you put enough effort. It'll spin. You can make it spin any way you want to spin. But it also requires a lot of responsibility. Okay, from there in the Rider-Waite deck you have 11, which is justice. From there you have the card, the Hanging Man. The Hanging Man is the card of self-sacrifice. From there you have the card of death, rebirth, and generation, which is the skull of the 13. From there you have the card of temperance, which is, I'm always learning more and more about patience. From there you have the card of what is considered to be the devil, or imbalance and sort of overindulgence and greed. From there you have the tower, the burning tower, knowing when it's time to get out and go. From there you have the beautiful star of humanity with the naked woman. She has one foot in the river and another foot out, and there are stars around her. She's blossoming. From there, you go to card 18 of the moon. It's a very psychic, vivid energy that requires a focus of your telepathic and clairvoyant skills. From there, you go to the 19, which is the naked baby sitting on the horse in the Rider-Waite deck. And it's the card of the sun. So the moon and the sun. And then after that, you go to card 20, which is Judgment Day. After Judgment Day, you go to card 21, which is the world. And then you have to go to card 22. It culminates in card 22 and or 0, depending on who you ask. And it comes full circle. The Fool starts off as uninitiated, and then he comes back around to the number 22. And the Fool is one who's able to lead with a full heart and a clear mind, regardless of what the surrounding community thinks. And that is the Trump's major. And this is why I tell you that it is so rewarding to be able to study these sciences and not to use them in competition with each other, but to use them to inform your knowledge and to help other people. This is very long. I love you. Seriously? Oh, y'all know Mosby, right? Woo! It's my Mosby. He's saying hi. Anyway, I like to hug things. Makes me more relaxed. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. I will be sure to cut this down. www.shebah, Shebah, an extra H for the drama, and because it holds the 8 energy for those numerologists out there. You know what I'm saying? www.shebasaturn.com. Shebah Saturn. Follow me. I love you.